inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
One way to get a really good deal on a rental property is to find an off-market property that no one else knows about. And that's exactly what my guest today is doing to build out her rental portfolio. Today on the podcast, she's going to share with us 3 different ways that she goes about finding these deals. So let's take a really quick break. We'll thank our sponsors. We'll come right back and we'll meet Kayla Huiras from Little Rock.
Are you looking for a roadmap to financial freedom? If so, we have a solution for you. Narada Real Estate is offering a limited number of free strategy sessions to help you get out of the rat race. Learn how you can create wealth and build monthly passive income. To set up a time with one of our knowledgeable investment counselors, simply go to naradarealestate.com. That's NORADA realestate.com.
The first step in buying a rental property is to get pre-qualified, and I would suggest you work with a lender that specializes in working with investors, because the last thing you want to have happen is to get to closing and find out the money's not there and you can't close. The lender that I recommend is Kayla Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She's a nationwide lender, and she'll pre-qualify you for free if you mention Rental Income Podcast. Find out more today. Contact Kayla at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com. NMLS 42056. Having to evict a tenant is painful. The best way to protect yourself from evictions is to screen tenants, and the best way that I know of to screen tenants is TransUnion SmartMove. It's a really valuable online screening tool delivering credit, eviction, and background reports in minutes, and their proprietary tenant credit check predicts evictions 15% better than generic credit scores. See why over 4 million landlords have used SmartMove to make better leasing decisions. Use code RENTAL25 at checkout to save 25% at tenantscreening.com. That's code RENTAL25 at tenantscreening.com. Hey, Kayla, so why don't we start with you giving us just a real quick overview of your rental portfolio, the types of properties you like to buy, the neighborhoods, all that kind of stuff.
We have 8 houses now. Been in real estate almost 4 years. Single-family homes is our focus.
Okay.
Eventually, we will get to multifamilies, but they are all single families. Usually, we look for all brick homes with new roofs, new HVACs, things like that. Those are bonuses, of course. ARVs, I would say, after repair value, if they were all fixed up and ready to go, anywhere from $60,000 to $120,000 will probably be our range of what we look for.
And what do they rent for?
I would say on average around $850.
Okay.
Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, depending on your square footage.
Okay.
If I can get an additional bedroom in there, I have a 4-bedroom. So I do look for at least 3 bedrooms as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, your day job is a realtor, so you've got access to the MLS, you've got easy access to properties. As an added bonus, when you buy a property, you get a commission, but you've never actually bought any of your rentals off the MLS. Why not?
It's not that we haven't looked at them, but usually they want, full residential prices for them. So we have considered it.
So I guess you can get better deals going directly to the seller than buying a property that's on the market and you've got every investor and every buyer in town looking at it.
Yeah, we've had better luck sending direct mail.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So you've got 3 different strategies that you're using to find rentals. And I want to kind of walk through exactly what you're doing. So the first one that you mentioned is expired listing. So for anybody that doesn't know what an expired listing is, can you explain what that is?
Sure. An expired listing is a seller that has been on the MLS out there trying to sell with a realtor, and they have just not been able to sell it.
So as a realtor, you can go into the MLS, you can see what listings expired on a certain day and contact them. So how are you reaching out to them? Are you calling them or are you mailing them something?
We mail them. So that's kind of one of my quote unquote daily tasks
Okay.
is
So
watching the expired listings pop up, and then we will email a letter to them directly.
what are you saying in the letter?
Or I'm sorry, mail them, not email them.
Yeah.
We'll mail them.
Okay. So what do you? What does the letter say?
It just says it's real simple. We don't get into a whole lot of detail. We just say we buy houses in your area. We love the location. There's only 2 areas that we focus on, so we keep it real small. We buy as is, and you don't have to worry about any closing costs or anything like that.
Okay. So is this like a form letter that you send out, or are you handwriting this?
I am handwriting this.
Okay. And it's not, I assume with just focusing on 2 areas, this isn't hundreds of properties that you're mailing out every day. You might get, like, what do you get? Maybe like one a week or a couple a month, or like how many properties do you generally send out at any one time?
Yeah, I would say probably a few a week. Like you said, it's real small.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So that's one way that you're generating potential rental properties. The other one is driving for dollars. So can you explain what that means?
So of course, you have to drive places every single day. You're going to the grocery store and you're going, you're, here and there and carting the kids around and everything like that. So we've gotten really good at, it's finding houses in your area that may seem vacant, that may seem, they have tall grass. The lights are never on at night. You can tell it's not really well maintained. We've just gotten good at picking those out. People that look like they may almost quote unquote be in trouble, or like I said, just vacant and kind of just either just left the property, or lots of times those are owners that may not even live in the state.
Right.
So we do a little digging on that on the county data. And lots of times they don't live out of state or live in that house. They live somewhere else. And so at that point, we will send them a letter to where they live about that property.
Okay. So when you're driving around town, going to the grocery store or whatever, if you see 123 Main Street looks vacant, you'll just kind of jot down that address. And then when you get home, you'll do a little digging around online to find who the owner is.
Exactly.
Okay. Are you sending them the same kind of letter you send to the expireds?
Yep. Same letter.
Awesome. And you're handwriting that, sending that out one at a time. And then do you follow up with them at all? Like, do you send, like, if you don't hear anything back, do you follow up again?
Yes. If we really like the area and we really like the house, we'll watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And we'll jot it down and follow up. Yep.
And then the third thing that you're doing is direct mail. So is this to a neighborhood that you like, where you're mailing every homeowner?
Oh, yep. So we focus on 2 zip codes, and typically we've gotten a good feedback going back to the absentee owners. So the owners that don't live in the house, and they may live in Arkansas and they may not live in Arkansas. So we've mailed both of those lists.
Okay. And you're not handwriting those, are you? Okay.
No.
I was gonna say that's a lot of work. So,
No.
so what do you do? Do you just have like a postcard or some kind of form letter you send out?
That one is yellow direct mail. Very similar to what I send to the individuals, but we buy lists and then we source it out to, leverage a company to get all the mailing together and mail it for us.
Okay, awesome. All right, now let's talk through like actually looking at the property and making the offer. So you've gotten people to call you that through your 3 different methods. And someone calls you and they're interested in selling their house. What's the next step? Are you making an appointment to go over there and see the house, or are you trying to negotiate over the phone?
We do not negotiate numbers initially.
Okay.
I know a lot of people do, especially if you're out of state and stuff like that. You try to negotiate them down, but we try to make it more of building that rapport up front with families around here. I think that's very important to them. And I think that's helped us execute making deals and buying houses. So I don't just go ahead and make the appointment. There are initial questions that I ask. A big deal is I want to know if you owe a mortgage. What type of work has to be done to the house, any updates, maintenance, things like that. I may ask them as far as number wise, what do you need for the property, or what do you want for the property? What do you have to put in your pocket? Something like that. So I can maybe gauge where they're at.
Yeah.
And if it would make any sense. Now, being expired listings on the MLS, that can be tougher because they want those high residential prices.
Right.
But lots of times we actually focus on seller financing, or owner financing is what we also call it, which means asking the seller if they would accept taking payments over time for the house versus selling it outright.
Okay. So if maybe they want a really high price for the property, you'll give them that price, but over a number of years. So you'll make payments to them?
Yep. Okay. Absolutely.
Awesome. Now, when you're building rapport, how important is it to build rapport over the phone before you go to see the property versus just getting that appointment and getting over to the property and then building rapport in person?
Well, you think about it. Everybody makes that judgment of somebody within how long do they say?
Yeah, a couple of seconds, right?
Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah.
So if you can just introduce yourself. I always say we're local in the area and we're building, our portfolio, looking to build our portfolio for our family.
Okay.
And for our future. And, and then of course you go into the questions, and if you ask enough questions and you ask the right questions, most people these days are, going to want to start talking about themselves, of course.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
You have to be very focused on listening. I think that's the biggest part of that initial conversation.
Right.
If you're there to listen versus just, okay, well, this is what I'm going to offer for you before. Why would I go offer somebody $30,000 if they have $40,000 left to pay their mortgage?
Right.
That doesn't even make any sense.
Sure.
And all you're going to do is irritate them.
Right. Now, one thing that you do, which is kind of interesting, is when you go to the property and meet the person, you don't make an offer right there in person. Well, why is that?
Well, first of all, it's my partner and I, Donnie. We go, and I'm kind of the one that's going to have the conversations, dig a little bit farther, figure out some motivation, while he's looking around and figuring out, okay, we really need to look at these bigger ticket items because everyone's going to tell you there's nothing wrong with my house.
Right.
So, he's going to dig in and look around, and it's important for us to sit down later and decide together, A, on if this is something we would want to move forward with. And B, where's your numbers compared to my numbers? Is this going to make sense for us? And we want to, make sure that we're on the same page.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's what works and makes our business continue to work. Obviously, business partners, if you can find somebody that meshes well, and it's just worked really great. So being on the same page definitely helps. And then, you're just not talking about it in front of them.
I think that makes a lot of sense because, like you're trying to build that rapport, trying to show them that you're interested in buying the property, but you've got to go home and crunch some numbers and see what it is that you could offer. So when you actually do make the offer, you don't just give them an offer, you give them 3 different offers. Can you tell me like what that is?
It depends on the 3 offers.
Okay.
It does vary. Now, if we're talking with somebody that will be willing to do owner financing, let's say, we may just make 2 offers, one for like longer terms. Our longest one will be the most terms, meaning the longest years, which we don't try to exceed 10 years.
Okay.
That's usually what we try to pay it down in.
Okay.
But we're able to give them, if they just will not come off that price, so they're asking $80,000, no, and it's worth $80,000, but it needs just a few things, then we'll be willing to pay that. But you're going to finance it for us over those 10 years, or if we can make it less than that, as long as your cash flow numbers work, with your insurance, taxes and all that. Or we may come down a little bit, like $65,000 for a sales price, and maybe half the time, like 5 years.
Okay.
So, and then that third offer, if we make that, that's a cash offer typically, which is almost half of their price is what they're asking. That's almost kind of seems like a rule of thumb the more I look at the numbers. But that may be something if we do make those blind offers occasionally. If it is on the MLS, that's what I'm saying. MLS is a little bit harder to find.
Right.
Because you're kind of going in there blind with those offers, but that would be the 3 offers. So
like in your experience with the rentals that you've bought, what do people generally prefer?
Initially, it's the cash. But another reason why we like to speak with the seller one-on-one is to explain, how is this financing to us going to benefit you? Because most people, when they say no because they're not understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if they're on the MLS, obviously they're listed with a realtor. You have to go through the realtor. And lots of times you'll come across that person that doesn't even understand that themselves.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So they may just ask their seller, hey, would you be willing to, finance it? And like, no, they don't talk about tax benefits and, all that kind of stuff. And this is what we can do for you. And, there's a possibility of balloon payments over 5 years, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Talking through it with them versus, they're obviously more comfortable if they can see you one-on-one, get to know you. That's where the rapport comes in. And be like, okay, well, now I'm feeling comfortable with this person.
Right. Yeah. No, also, I feel like a lot of agents just want a clean deal. Like they don't want to get involved with owner financing. And so like being able to work that out directly with the seller, I think is just a lot easier. Awesome. So that's great. So you've been able to work out a bunch of these deals. Now, after you get the seller to agree to the terms, as far as doing all the legal paperwork, do you have an attorney that you use, or are you just having your title company draw up the note and the loan paperwork?
We go through title companies here, but they have an attorney that they use that draws it up.
If you're looking for a realtor in the Little Rock area, or you want to reach out to Kayla, I've got her information on the website. You can find it at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 225. One tip that may help you if you're looking to go after expired listings and you're maybe not a realtor, a great way that you can get access to that information is to build a relationship with a realtor in your town. Tell them what you're trying to do and see if they can get you set up on an automatic search so that whenever a listing expires, you can get an automatic email to let you know. Just make sure you take care of your realtor. Remember, realtors work on commission, so pay them a commission. Give them some kind of fee if you end up buying a property that they send you to. And you can also use them to help you take care of some of the details to get the contract to closing. A realtor can really be a great resource when you're buying a rental property. And speaking of great resources, I'd like to thank our lender, Kayla Ridge, for making today's episode possible. If you're looking to finance a rental property, definitely reach out to Kayla Ridge. She's a nationwide lender, and she specializes in helping investors buy rental properties. She's got a ton of different programs, and she can find something that'll work for you in your situation. You can find out more and get started today at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE, lendinggroup.com. And if you mention Rental Income Podcast, she will waive all of the pre-qualification fees. NMLS 42056. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing to the podcast. We'll be back with a new episode next Tuesday. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.